Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
So, we're gonna go.
I know, we got a little bit
You
more.
guys, you know me, I just started screaming, we're gonna start a little bit early.
Where's Amanda?
She's on the road right now.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember my phone, so I think it's in the kitchen actually.
You want me to get it? Oh, I heard it. You want me to get it?
You can't,
No,
Trav.
I don't need to.
No.
Be like the worst possible time if we need
You're
to.
gonna get a spanking if you get out of that chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stay in it.
Tomorrow is surgery, bro. You gotta stay
Surgery
there.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow, okay.
Wow, I didn't realize that was came out so small when I took the screenshot. Wow, okay, maybe I should look on that. Hey, everybody,
Hey,
Hi.
come on in.
Brr. Cold outside.
It is, trying to get the heat cranked up so that we had some complaints the last couple of
I'm
weeks.
doing okay. I have surgery in the morning.
great.
Oh, you finally get surgery.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad you didn't get a chance to see Capra.
I know, yeah. He's out till the end of May.
I know it, yeah. He put Rick's leg all back together.
So you're
Yeah.
not in a cast?
No, just a splint. I have 3 breaks. 2 in my ankle and 1 in my leg.
Oh, that's all.
You
Yeah.
had it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
See how it's, yeah, like pixely or
I
something.
got a message from Cassie, and she said that, fire marshal.
Yeah, it is. I just got it today, actually.
Yeah, no, didn't find anything, too bad, just, I think, the exit lights, I think, need to be red or something, so,
So it's okay.
yeah, I think so, must be.
Did you find out?
Find out what?
I know, at the school
Oh,
lots
what
of
day it
times,
is?
those lights, I remember when the power went out at school and those lights come on, and they're just about light you.
Did you hear me?
They were really
Well,
bright.
That's what I had first.
We're just waiting for the time to get there now. Amanda's not gonna be here tonight, she's on the road.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I just turned on these lights.
Do you have to sign in?
Do you have to,
Amanda.
is there a sign-in sheet
Yeah,
then?
it looks like
No,
it.
that's
Oh,
not.
yeah, Travis.
Table.
Do you guys have a sign-in sheet
Is there
today?
a sign-in sheet?
Yeah, we sure do, don't we? Is it?
You don't need one?
No, we can use one, if you want to sign it. It doesn't.
Doesn't
we're-
matter?
We're on video, live streaming and everything, so it doesn't, we'll ask you to state who you are. and that
Okay.
sort of thing. Yeah,
Perfect.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Make it all low for your shadow. How's your day? Did you email that Jimmy spreadsheet? Do you mind, or?
Your personal email address. I didn't bring a copy.
No, that's fine, I can pull it up, and we don't have schools tonight anyway, because we got the technology Can you send it to the hall?
Good, we'll be able
And you know what?
Well, no, it's not on my
I
phone.
had to look
That's,
for it myself to find it.
I emailed it on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
It
It's,
was
it's fine,
in,
as long as Rob has it, we're good.
Yeah.
I went into the
We
bathroom.
just won't be able to, talk about it in depth.
No, in the bathroom.
Oh, the other.
Oh, the
Everything's
email.
on the register.
It was in a box.
It's in a
That-
box,
that
yeah.
didn't say,
The
no,
email. Okay.
I had to dig in the box.
Well, if you come, you can get buy more dogs.
I did, I turned it back on.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
over
get
there,
Kate to
everybody,
tell
we're
them
7
that,
o'clock.
yeah. We have
Let's do,
stuff
stand and do the pledge of allegiance and then we'll get started. Ken, do you mind starting us in the pledge, please?
Yeah, I do.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank everybody that's watching on the live streams. Officer roll call as we move along. Amanda's not here tonight. She's on the road. I'm not sure right exactly what she's doing, but she's on the road right now. She was in the car when I talked to her. Treasurer Karen,
Yes, present.
she's here. I can see her. Kenzie?
Here.
I'm here. Everybody's here. Previous meeting minutes approval, I didn't put that in there, I mean, that's, maybe actually this is the wrong one. But, the video is our actual minutes anyway, so we've discussed this at previous meetings, it doesn't necessarily mean, need approval, just put it on, it's fine, I can read it here. That's it. Then I'm sorry to everybody that we don't have the screens up right now, we finally got the technology that we were looking for, we were using interim things to show everybody everything during the meetings, but now we actually have it, just within the last couple of days, we have had a chance to get it installed yet. So, treasurer, everything has gone to, Rob Gaslin. We're going to have the budget meeting that we'll talk about a little bit more later. So unless there's anything other than grants or anything else, other reports or anything like that, then we'll be publishing that soon.
Okay, you want me to give the account balances?
Yes, please.
Okay, our regular checking account has a balance of $305.82. The government pool account balance is $10,382.46. And grant one account is $8,400. And grant two account is $21,550.
Okay, so grant one and grant two, just so everybody's clear, grant one is the roof, what we're using for the roof. Grant two is for the emergency generator. So we're all clear, it took us a long time again.
And what was the generator account again, number again?
21,
Grant, it's grant account number two,
How much
Yeah.
was it?
$21,550.
$21,550.
And the other grant,
It was $8,400.
$8,400.
$8,400.
Okay, I misunderstood, I thought you said 81.
No, $8,400, yes. So those are finally set up. We were gonna have a conversation.
Spend up.
I think maybe it'll be at our next meeting, we'll have a conversation about, potentially changing financial institutions. Karen's not gonna be here, but we'll find out by then. You'll be working with somebody to transition by then, so. What else? I have another receipt for you, for $16 or whatever,
Okay.
for, that I will include in the records request that Eddie June and others were looking for. These are the kinds of things, the last spreadsheet that Rob has, all that stuff. I talked to Eddie June about it the other day. So all of that stuff will come in, that's what we're waiting for, these last little things. And I think we can just, I know we can just deduct it from petty cash, that's what I use.
Yeah.
For that panel over there. And we'll get into that more later.
So the records request isn't ready yet?
Most of it is right here. All I need to do is get that spreadsheet from Karen that she thought she sent to me, but it was something different. But she can email it as soon as she gets home. And then, yeah, you can have it. There's one other receipt that, is, and actually, no, there's about 5 other receipts that I need to photocopy for that, the things that we purchased. That was part of the request. And then that's it, yeah.
Okay.
It seems like there was something else, Karen, but, it's okay unless you have something else.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for that. And for figuring that stuff out in the baker and stopping by and giving that spreadsheet to Rob. Amanda's not here, administrative assistant, had something a few things you wanna talk about?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that I'm excited about currently working on some grants right now for the hall. And I also wanted to go over that we will be painting over the Airbnb, but we'll discuss that later. But I just wanted everyone to know that like that's not gonna be on the door anymore, and I know it's been a big problem.
Good.
Good.
And what was the
I'm-
first thing you said, Kinsey? I'm sorry.
I'm excited about working on some current grants right now for the
Okay.
hall. And I'm also taking on, painting, a painting project for the wall back there. I was thinking about being inspired by the red brick on the outside of the original hall building and doing some like maybe, red and gray overlay of brick going up the stairway, because we had to repaint that because of the flooding that happened, and we got a new, access hatch put in there, but that wall needs to be repainted, so I was working on that. And I also just wanted to say I completed a class on public meetings law in March, so I think that's really cool. And I encouraged other people on the board to do it too. And also, there's been some people in the community that have said that, they just wanted me to mention that they're disappointed that, the current hall board kinda gets, or seems like it gets a double standard when compared to other local boards here. Anything and everything that happens, it's always scrutinized, but maybe that, pressure makes diamonds, but I just wanted to put that out there, because there's been a few people in the community that have been concerned and disappointed and upset with all of the issues and things going on in town. So, and also, I just wanted to point out, don't forget to do your own research. Just because people tell you things doesn't mean that it's always 100% true, and it's up to you to do your own looking into things, so that's important. That's what I got.
Okay. I like how you put a few things, but I mean, we'll get to the grants, we'll get to a lot of other things here, shortly. We do have to have, an executive session here soon, but to follow up on some of that, I'd like to thank Travis Bradford, member of the city council, and the FFA for coming down and doing some cleanup efforts here. I was out of town for quite a while to work. That's what I do. I usually leave in the summertime and work. And these are non-lucrative positions, right? We all know. Eddie June and I have talked about it. We've talked about it at many council meetings and these board member meetings that sometimes there can be a lack of community involvement doing things, and it takes some young back. So I really appreciate Travis not only taking over the parks again while I was gone and volunteering his time rather than getting paid. We've been kind of switching back and forth over the years here. But now that it's not a paid position, I really appreciate that he stepped back in. He's the most knowledgeable person about it, and I really love it. Travis Rasmussen broke himself. He was going to help me with it. Jessica Bradford was going to help me with it, but she's super busy with the city and everything else that she's doing. So I really appreciate Travis stepping up and doing that on his days off, and bringing the FFA and other people into it, because this is exactly what we need. This is exactly our goals, is to bring people together, and that's his and mine, our main concern. As far as the chair report goes, okay, so we got the wall fixed over there. Justin came in and put everything back together and textured. He's been too busy. He says the hotter it gets, the busier he gets, and I completely agree with that. So Kinsey took over that, that's what she was gonna talk about, the painting project. So we're gonna accent those walls and stuff. That's why everything's closed off right now. We haven't been able to get to it, but we do have the paints. For the most part, we're gonna get the base paint tomorrow, Lord willing, and start that project. If anybody is interested in helping at any time, reach out to Kinsey. She's the one that's gonna be doing it, over the next short period of time so that we can actually officially open back up again. We were hoping to do it by now, but we just have not been able to. Again, these are non-lucrative positions, these are volunteer positions, right? So we do everything that we can when we can. And I suppose the same goes for the records requests, and I very much appreciate you ladies, giving us some grace on getting me that information. It just, and you know, you've all been on boards, you know that it takes time. Like some of the things that you ask for, I have to make sure that Karen has time so that we can get together, because I don't have the authorization to access it, that sort of thing. But other members of the board that we have to get together to make sure that we get that to you. So I really do appreciate that. Right now, I mean, that's pretty much all I have as far as things have gotten cleaned up. No, I don't. I do have some other things I should probably talk about. So there's been some hubbub about the state of the hall. And we knew, as a board, that we had some issues with the faucet, with a leak there that suddenly showed up before our very last event. But I thought, Kinsey was in the throes of her things, and so was everybody else on the board. I thought that I had an extra day. I talked about this, of course you can. I thought that I had another day to let people know if there was an issue with some flooding. People came in to do Kinsey's event, Kinsey and Amanda's event, the kids' night thing, and they got here before I did. I thought it was gonna be the next day. I talked about this at the last meeting too. And we showed up and there's basically a giant lake at the bottom of those stairs that are blocked off right now. Again, we've gotten all that fixed, but it's blocked off because we still need to do the painting and all of that stuff. Unfortunately, that morning, I had also gotten a donation of some dishes that we may or may not need here, and dropped them off. I came back later on in the day, and everybody's here, and the place looks really disheveled because of stuff I'm not gonna go back into, I think the whole valley knows about right now. And that has kind of gotten blown up into that we're not, the people here on this board, and the people involved with the board, the people that support the board don't care about the hall. And that's simply not true. It was a matter of bad timing, bad communication, and some people taking things way too far out of context that have gone into now, unfortunately, a legal realm. But I want to assure you that the issue that we had was very simple. It is a primer valve that, again, we talked about at the last meeting, that blew out in the side of the wall. It's what happens. The plumbers explained to me that things that are in the water cause abrasives, eventually things let go. I believe, we don't have records, but I believe that during the renovations of 2000, 2001 is when those were put in. So it's about time for them to go. And as a matter of course, I should probably mention that the one in the other wall over here by the men's bathroom probably should be replaced as well. Another thing that we did in the course of that is find out that regulations now require that we have an access hatch to that valve, and then we put another shut-off valve right next to it. And now we understand why. If we could have opened that and could have shut it off, none of this would have been a problem, right? But nobody knew about it, right, until it was an issue. It was nobody's fault. Past, present, future, hopefully, as long as we get things taken care of. It was nobody's fault. It's just something that happens. If you use something, it's going to wear out, right? So that's what happened. So unfortunately, there are certain people that have a certain view of this board, especially myself, that came in at that time, and I let them in to show them and try to explain to them, but I think that they already had something in their mind as to what was really happening, and they spread that out a lot. It was unfortunate timing, it was a lack of receipt of communication. I tried as much as I could to communicate what was happening, but it wasn't well received, or at all received. And unfortunately, that's been transferred down the line over time. But now, we do have the repairs of both the sink and that. Like I said, if we all had had time by now, that would be painted. We were hoping to announce the grand reopening by this meeting, but it didn't happen. It's gonna happen this week, Lord willing. And again, we've asked many times, if anybody wants to help, they can reach out to Kinsey, she's the head of this mission right now, and volunteer. She'll let you know when we're gonna be here, or when somebody will be here, and she'll be here to help you with that. It would be great. I think it's gonna be a great project. I think she's gonna be posting pictures of what the idea are and everything. I think it would be wonderful. So, I mean, we just don't wanna cause any animosity. It's just something that happened, and there are previous things that kinda got blown out of proportion, right? But we're about ready to fix it or to have repairs completed, and we need to be focusing on probably replacing that other valve. It just popped in my head. What the other thing was for you, Karen, how much was that repair?
Oh, the repair,
The
the
re-
plumbing
Sorry
bill
about that.
was $1,502.85.
$1,502.85 to fix that repair is what it was, for Patriot wanting to come over, and we appreciate them very, very much. Okay, so I think that's it as far as, I mean, I could keep going, but, it's Kinsey's turn.
Okay, so I mentioned this last meeting, but, with the kids' night and with everything that happened, with all of those posts that have been all over online, I just take it as a good, I guess, life lesson for me. I was trying to delegate that event since Amanda was the one that started the kids' nights and I was the one that helped her before I was on the hall board. I felt like it was my responsibility to keep going. I asked Nicole if she could help me. But I wasn't here because I had an accident and I caught myself on fire. So I was over in Oregon City trying to delegate and trying to put, but if I would have known the actual state of the hall, I would have put that first and I would have canceled kids' night. As much as I love the kids around here and doing stuff for them, I would have canceled it and I would have put the state of the hall first, because I believe that having a water leak and having a water problem is a big deal and it should be taken care of. And if I would have been here, I don't think that the hall would have been found in such a terrible state. Like, I wasn't here, so there's nothing I could do. I didn't know. I should have asked more questions and I should have done a better job from afar. So that's just more lessons for me. But I just wanted to let Debbie know that I take responsibility for that, because I was managing it from afar and I just should have done better with asking more questions before.
But there's kind of a caveat to that too, because none of us, and you asked us not to do that shortly after that, a couple weeks after that, but you did.
No one wanted to tell me what was going on, because I was in and out of the burn center, and so no one wanted to tell me what was really happening, and no one wanted to stress me out. But I was like, I chewed everyone's butt about that, because I was like, you should have told me and let me know what was actually happening, so that I could have done a better job at doing it better for the community and everybody. But yeah.
I know I said it too. The other reiteration is that myself, Travis, other people helping us, because of history, the kids' nights had always traditionally been on Thursday. For whatever reason, this one was scheduled for Tuesday, so we thought.
Because it had to be rescheduled.
Exactly. It was our lack of communication in that between the two of us, but there are some mitigating factors in there, right? We would not have ever presented, this is basically the bottom line. If we had known everything, the timeline and everything that happened, we would have never presented this hall,
Right.
or this community, or anything else, in regards to that, to anyone in that state.
Right.
We thought we had a whole another day to let them know that they should do kids' night somewhere else, and it got blown into this whole
I was
other thing.
horrified when I found
Yeah.
out the actual state that
Yeah.
everything was in, and I was like, I cannot believe that I let people in here and not tell anyone or not make any more support of what Nicole may have needed or whatever. She didn't let me know anything either, at all. Neither did Danny. like I said, I chewed them both out, but I, definitely would have done things differently if I knew what was actually going on here, so, lessons learned.
Well, I just wanna say one thing. I appreciate you stepping up, but, you know, you have no control over old pipes
Right,
that leak.
Mm-hmm.
right.
So, to me, that was just something that happened.
Right, but I feel like if I would have been told, because I didn't know that there was leaking or anything
Well, you
like
couldn't
that.
help it.
No, I couldn't have, but
You
if I
couldn't
would have
help it.
known, if there would have been a little bit, I could have, but,
There was a
You know.
lot of not knowing, basically, what was going on, lack of communication.
and I just take it as a
People-
lesson instead of blaming
Mhm.
other people, I'm just like, well,
Exactly.
I can learn now that if I'm gonna manage anything from afar, I better do my homework before I,
Well, I do appreciate that, Kenzie.
Right. So we just wanna explain it to everybody, because it has been blown out of proportion.
and I feel
It has
bad.
never
And that's
been-
fine.
Yeah,
It has never been our intention to represent anyone that we have been elected to represent in
and bad.
a bad way, right, in a negative way. We certainly don't want to do that. We were all under a false impression, basically, and it all came into this hurricane of the wrong stuff, right? So hopefully that clears up everything for everybody, everything back there is cleared up.
And then just for
Again,
us in future boards, we need to just make sure that now is the time to pay attention to plumbing here and throughout the whole city. It's time for things to be updated for sure, and I think, we're all kind of maybe getting a lesson with that. Pipes definitely need to be replaced, so,
That's not only that, so there's one other thing too. Kinsey mentioned earlier, Patty asked before whether or not we're following Robert's rules of orders, and we are. But at the same time, Kinsey just completed that class that she sent me a bunch of screenshots and sent me a whole bunch of stuff.
so we need to pay
about-
attention.
Yeah, and the bottom line is that we all have some lessons to learn. None of the boards out here that I've witnessed are doing everything right. None of them. So the silver lining in the whole thing is that some people are saying, here, are you doing that right? Well, I think I am. But it's not about whether or not you think you are, right? It's about whether or not it is actually happening correctly. So, right, we all have lessons to learn, and it's good. Kinsey has been teaching us. That's one of the, I like the younger people's way of putting it. I think that's really cool. But maybe the truer statement is that she's been teaching us, right, from that education, how to do our meetings better. And she's on 2 boards around here, this one and the school board, so hopefully we can all do it better. Because we don't want any of our efforts that we're working towards to come to naught, right, because we did something wrong, right, because there's one loophole or another. So hopefully that's a silver lining in this whole thing, and then the way we can find to work together with one another. Right now, we're going to go into, unless anybody else on the board has anything to say, we're gonna go into the public. We've been kind of having a dialogue, so if anybody has anything specific they want to say, please come up, say what your name is, and let us know.
So you're gonna do that now?
Right.
You have to, are you planning on going into executive session this meeting?
Yes, after the public comments.
Okay. Okay, well, needless to say, I met a June Greenwood.
I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Eddie June Greenwood, I just want to make sure it gets on the recording, because we didn't plug in your microphone, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
this isn't working?
Yeah, I know. We're getting picked
I
up on
can
the-
hear you.
We're getting picked up on the recording now.
Okay, so can I stand over here then?
Of course you can, yeah.
Perfect, because I don't like to turn my back on the audience, that's apparently not my best side.
Everybody online says they've only been able to hear Kinsey.
Really, the whole time?
Yep,
You're
Okay.
welcome.
just telling you.
Good.
Just
Sorry.
Well, and yeah,
Wow,
she
yeah.
has been,
I'm here, that's fine.
except she does talk a little fast.
I do. I'll be better.
Okay. Okay, I'm speaking tonight as a citizen of this community. I have no intention of calling anyone a thief, a crook, or a liar. My intentions are to state some facts as I believe to be true. And this all may be talked about later.
Okay.
I'm not sure. regarding Airbnb. Since January, it has been brought to the attention of this hall board. Many citizens of this community are not in favor of an Airbnb being operated in the public building. It has been stated in video that if that would continue, the tax levy on this building would likely be voted down. And it has. Repairs. The only thing I've got to say about repairs is repairs, remodeling, or maintenance is done. I believe it is required to be done by an Oregon licensed contractor, since it is a public building, whether the work was donated or paid for. The moratorium and the lease, I will not address these issues
Okay.
because I assume they're both pending litigation. Regarding the recall, after January, when the hall board received a letter regarding how most of the district members shared their wishes as to how the hall board should handle matters of concern, it was totally ignored. It was decided a recall was the only answer. Thoughts were to recall the whole board. But after doing research and deciding that 3 positions on the board were appointed, and with May elections in the future, it was decided to go a different route. It was also noted that each election is a separate election, and the cost to the hall would be considerably high. Therefore, the 2 elected positions were looked at. After careful consideration, it was decided that the chairman of the board would be recalled. It was not, as had been suggested, that the race card was played. "63 signatures was gathered on the petition to start the recall, and at present, this 64 votes versus 11 votes were cast to recall the hall board chairman. The election cost was considerably higher than expected, as required by the Secretary of State to put election boxes on 3 different days here at Unity. As of May 13th at 5 p.m., the election will be over, and then any ballots left to come in through the mail will stop at that time, and anything after that won't be counted. The last thing I have to say is everyone in the district has a right to voice their opinion, and this includes people from adjoining communities that respect the uniqueness of the hall. People who have lived here but do not live here now still care and still have that same right. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you, Lady June. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I don't know if everybody heard Lady June, she was asking. That's on the recording, since Travis said nobody can hear anybody except for Kinsey. I want to make sure everybody got this. Lady June Greenwood was saying that she is speaking as a member of the community and asking about whether or not Patriot Plan, you guys jump in whenever you want. Whether or not we did the work required for the plumbing from the licensed contractor, the answer to that is yes. We use Patriot Plumbing out of John Day and Canyon City. A guy that a bunch of us that grew up out here know that runs that company, and he's great. We appreciate him and his crew that came out to do it. So the answer to that is yes. We appreciate, or at least I appreciate, your comments about the recall. I think in a strange way they may be helpful. May I, when it comes to the so-called race card, is it okay if I respond to that? We were going to make in the modern world,
Well, the response, that comment was made at the last hall board meeting.
but that was not by a board member.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It
But
wasn't.
it's still good to state.
Huh?
It's still good that you stated what you said.
Well, then people said what they wanted to say. This has been my stance since I grew up here, right? As the only person. Okay, let's just get down to brass tacks, if we're gonna talk about the whole race thing, right?
What we really really don't need to because it
No,
wasn't
we, no,
because
I
of the
think,
race
I
car.
think we do, because it is part of the entire political spectrum issue, and it's become an issue here, at least for some people, right? I learned when I was about 9 years old, walking down the street with a couple guys down here, then I stated it, it dawned on me, that if I focus on people who focus on race, which one of us are dumber? Quite frankly. Like, if a person's gonna focus on race, then they're focused on something that's so base, so low level, that all I'm doing is being drugged down to what they're doing. I can't focus on anything else. So even if there is a racial element, who cares? That's somebody else's opinion. Even if they say it, who cares? That's freedom of speech. Are they attacking me? Are they trying to attack my family, right? I know from experience what we call in the United States what racism is. If you're not taking a swing at me, if you're not pulling a gun at me, if you're not bringing a knife out at me, which is on public record has happened in my life, then you're not trying hard enough with your so-called racism, right? I don't care. We're going to lose focus on what we need to do as a local area, as a people, in such a small area that we're practically living in a dorm together, right? Like, if we focus on that. It's a
But
waste
the
of time,
point
it's a
was,
waste of time,
Danny-
and it doesn't matter to me, it does not matter to this board, whether or not somebody said this, somebody said that. If you wanna know who's been pulling back away from, let's talk about the so-called race card, it's me. Because it's a waste of time.
But the point is, that was brought up against other people.
Maybe so, but
I-
that's
I
not,
don't know
but it was
good well
not
it was.
directed at the board. We just let people talk about what they wanna say and leave it at that.
Yeah, I still think though that it was a good, call for Eddie June to make that statement, just to make sure that everyone knows. But it still is a valid thing for people to say or think, but it's definitely not anything that this board is concerned about.
No.
Well,
I have heard,
and that's
I have
all,
heard
that's all
reports.
fine and well.
I've heard reports, but don't we always? Those are called rumors, right? Somebody so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. That's not what the board, city council, you know, you're on the city council, that's not what we can focus on. Amanda, the reason why I suggested that Kinsey become the administrative assistant is because Amanda's go-to saying is, show it to me in writing. Right? If you can't show it to me in writing, then we cannot morally, ethically, legally consider it. Unless it is testimony that comes from credible people, more than one that witnessed a certain thing, right? That's what our whole court of law system is based on. But that's not what these things are based on. We're going to lose the conversation about budget. We're gonna lose the conversation about grants. We're gonna lose the conversation about anything and everything that matters to this if that's what we're gonna focus on. And I think we can all see the areas that are focusing on the wrong thing and how well they're doing. That's not gonna be this area, and it's definitely not what's coming from this board. Everybody's welcome to say what they want, no matter how offensive it might be to some people. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to protect the First Amendment if things that people said weren't offensive to somebody else. That's the reason why we protect it, okay? So that's not at all, and I would like to make it like this publicly in our discourse. Eddie June, as a private person, as a city councilor, you have never directed anything like that towards me. If that's what you're looking for, I will say that, and same
No,
with anybody else.
I'm not,
That has never been an issue.
I have never done that.
No, and I've known you since I was, you know,
And I don't plan to.
this big, like, it's never happened.
So,
Okay,
but
so it's
all
not,
all I'm saying, it was somebody else that
right.
spoke.
Even if there is an element of that, and it doesn't matter if it was you or anybody else, even if there is an element of that, it's not an important one. That's what I wanna say.
Well,
Right.
that's good.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, so does anybody else wanna say something? Come on up, Kim, please.
Go for it.
I appreciate this discourse. I like the gavel that somebody got me, but I don't wanna use it.
Right.
Don't hit your head on that television.
Yeah.
It's rather
I'm not
large.
that tall.
Don't step back.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, as I think I hope I've made clear from the beginning of my beef, if you wanna call it that, with the community hall board was the fact that they kept claiming that the 99-year lease that was signed in order to get the fire department built. And that the city at that time agreed to enter a 99-year lease with the community hall, allowing the fire department to be built. And when the first thing that the board seemed to be focused on was that the lease was no longer valid, and that really upset me, as you could tell. And that's still a big beef with, apparently, the board has pursued, saying that the 99-year lease is no good, and they want to sign a new one. And I would point out that if you unilaterally say that the first lease you signed is no good, after 99 years they signed it, and you say, well, it's no good, they're certainly not going to be wanting to enter another lease with you if they can't trust you to follow through on the first one. And that's what I'm trying to make clear. It has a lot to do with the fact that you said that the 99-year lease was not valid. When you sign a 99-year lease, you expect it to last for 99 years, lease, or years. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Cam. Does anybody else have something they wanna?
I think trust is a very serious issue between, the city council and the hall board and any other, of course, the not trusting there was things in the lease that it was supposed to be looked at or renewed or talked about or every 5 years, and that wasn't done. And since that wasn't done, it was just something that I feel like it should have been, by either party, should have been brought up, because it is a matter of legality, and if that's not being followed through with, then the whole thing can't necessarily be valid or enforceable. So I definitely think what Ken says with the trust, that's valid. I can't say I have all of my trust as a citizen in a lot of things. I'm concerned about a lot of things within the city, but I definitely think being concerned with that and the lease and everything, but there are definitely details that are kind of getting left out, and things are getting overran with things that have just been spread on social media that don't necessarily help any of the situation. So,
Karen? So, just to bring it back, right? It was me. Period, in the story, not trying to toot my horn. It was me that said, our advice is that this lease is negligibly enforceable because due to legal definition of neglect for a number of reasons. I'm not going to go into every single one of them because we've talked about it ad nauseum, right? So that was our legal advice, but that came along with the further advice that if both parties get together and sign the current lease, then it's enforceable. Both parties are agreeing that we're just gonna move forward with it. And we could not, as a body, get the city as a body to actually meet together. One of them, and I believe Councilor Bradford Robbie, that it got misplaced on his calendar, he missed the first one. But we rescheduled several more times after that. It is not true in any way that I or this board forced the city council, and this is very important legally. It is not true in any way, and it is recorded, live streamed, recorded, available for everybody to watch online, that we forced the city to engage an attorney for legal action of this. In fact, we invited them to several committee meetings based on the advice of former County Commissioner Mark Bennett, that we get together as former, and I believe this is correct advice, that we, each body, delegate a commission or committee to get together and negotiate the terms, or just literally sign it, go back, make that recommendation to their bodies, and then we formally sign it. This is what we were told, this is how we do it. We tried to do that many times. The city absolutely refused to do so. This got turned into because we saw, this got turned into a whole bigger issue, having to do with the Airbnb and having to do with TCP, the comedy place.
That has
the
nothing
pop-up
to do
club
with the
that has
hall.
absolutely nothing to do with the hall, other than that they're renting from us completely legally and lawfully, and we've shown that ad nauseum. The city councilors at the time on the city council, not all of them, but some of them, came to the false determination that if this government body was conducting commercial operations here, that they had the right to unilaterally change the conditions of our rental agreement, which was, at the time, still questionably enforceable anyway, right? So if it was, I've explained this at a number of other meetings, this is the way it's been explained to us legally. If it were me and say Ken, right, I'm renting a place from Ken, he says I'm renting this place to you for $1,000 a month. And one day I sent him a letter and say, hey, I'm only gonna pay you $200 a month. There's no enforceable action.
Danny,
No, please, Ken.
I
Let me
can't let
please.
you, I
Let
can't let
somebody
you
else
say
talk
that.
for a minute.
You're really,
Ken, no,
you're really
Ken,
confusing the
Ken, we're
issue.
having, I just asked you not to.
If you're gonna rebut everything I said,
Ken,
now
please,
just listen,
let's,
listen.
I do not do this.
Just- or
She
you're
does not
talking
do this.
about rent.
Nobody does this at the city council meeting
Okay.
because they respect the city council.
You're talking
Please sit
about
down.
rent. You're
Please sit-
saying, you're making a false
No, I'm
example
not.
of paying
No, I'm
rent.
not. You're grandstanding.
Yes, you
Ken,
are.
And you know I've respected you
Okay,
since I
well,
was a kid.
I'm telling you,
Please
you
sit down
can
and
read
respect
this.
these. Please don't make this entire discourse
I don't
as
want
it
you
is.
making false
I'm
statements
not. I'm not.
about
I'm not.
if I was charging
I'm not.
rent.
Please sit down. You're interrupting. And you're
I
doing that.
have to interrupt
I
you
think
because you're
that I'm
spreading
doing that
false
because I'm making
information.
cogent points.
You're-
I think
you're-
that you're standing up and grandstanding and showing to children this is how you make public discourse, because I was making valid points and making sure that we all understand the timeline.
Okay.
Please sit down and be respectful of the process and the office, even if you don't like me. Please,
Okay,
Ken.
as long as you
Please.
give me a chance to
I
come
already
back.
did. I already did. Please
Oh,
sit
no,
down.
you're taking the last word as being valid, and that's not true. So
Can you
if
be
you're gonna take the
respectful,
last
please?
word as being valid, that's not setting a good
Everybody,
example.
please know, this is the reason why these.
Okay,
district
well, I'll be
board
glad to
meetings
sit
have
down if you give me a
thousands of
chance to
views,
rebut.
and why we have many people, including your wife, warning us that we're being a laughing stock because we can't have civil discourse with each other.
I think we
Danny, the civil discourse is
please.
coming from you.
I know, and it's not coming from you, that's my entire point.
You are disrespectful to Ken.
So, we
Shame
sought
on you.
legal advice. What do we do about this? I'm sorry, I use somebody else. Travis Bradford. If I'm renting from Travis Bradford,
Oh.
and he's charging me $1,000 a month, as private citizens, let's understand what I'm saying. This isn't, as some people like to say on social media, word salad. It's the
It's
truth.
to talk, let him talk.
This is the truth. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, like I do with you. If I'm renting from Travis Bradford for $1,000 a month, whatever, name it, and I send him a letter one month and say, hey, I'm only paying, and it's legal, we're written down, we got it on contract, right? And I send him something and say, hey, I'm only paying you $200 a month. That's absolutely not legally enforceable, period, end of story. How is it different? You have a legal body making a legal vote, a legally binding vote. We are doing something different than the contract we have. So we called our legislatively appointed legal advisor, who currently and everywhere is the district attorney or the assistant district attorney, and his advice to us that we read, again, the email. We read the email ad nauseum. What I advise to you is that you send them, the city, as an incentive for them to come to the table and come to an agreeable negotiation situation, that you issue them a lease termination, because they legally ended the lease with their vote. Later, they came to our meeting, live streamed, and lied about it. Period. They said they did not make that vote. End of story. Meets the qualifications for fraud. Period. Legally. no matter how no matter how much anybody would like to giggle in the audience.
That's nuts, Danny.
Oh, no, it's the law, and that's what we're finding, is that the law is nuts here, so.
Yeah, just finish
So
up talking.
anyway, we got legal advice, this is what you do. This is the legal efforts that you go through to bring the other party to the table so you can have a reasonable negotiation, which is now, excuse me, happening between our attorneys. Why? Because rather than coming to the table and just negotiating and signing an agreement with this body, all factual, 100% verifiable via video available online right now. None of this is my opinion. This is the reason why this board is standing with me, is because we've been here the whole time and dealing with these shenanigans. If they had come to the table, this would all be over. They lawyered up. They went and spent, as far as we can tell, the city's 20 free hours of legal representation through the Oregon League of Cities up on this non-issue. If they had not have gotten an attorney, this board would not have spent money on an attorney so an attorney can talk to an attorney. That's what happens. And we all, everyone in this room, except for 1, 2, maybe, that I know of, that have been here at this, right? We all know that this is true. It's only the people on social media that are outside of this and people that are seeing it in passing that could believe what is, quite frankly, coming from the opposite of this. This is not necessary. So it is a legal requirement that we were told. And if it weren't, if that vote didn't take place, as city council members came to our meetings and said on live stream video that we never made that vote, and then later rescinded it, then why did they rescind it?
Danny?
Because they made a vote, no, please, we made a vote, we're going to conduct ourselves, we're gonna conduct ourselves with a manner of professionalism and respect to one another. We're not gonna heckle from the crowd. You know why? Because the people sitting on this board that come to your meetings every single time, we don't heckle from the crowd, ever. You're teaching children to do that, we don't. So, we sought legal advice. This is what they told us to do. That's what we did.
Good.
Right? Only after we let the city know. We let the city know. This is what our legal advisor is telling us to do. And we would rather avoid that. Rather than coming to the table, the city employed an attorney. Therefore, we went and got an attorney. And now they're talking to each other with something that did not require attorneys or either body to spend money on those attorneys. It is not us.
It definitely did
Period,
not have to come to
period,
this.
end of story.
That's what-
You can giggle about it all you want,
Okay.
but that's what happened.
That's your side of it.
No, that's factual.
Okay.
100% factual, and we said it over and over again, and it doesn't matter how many meetings we have, when we have the same conversation with the same people,
True.
it's not going to change,
That's true.
right? They're discussing
You'll
it with
never
each other, and
change.
it's going to be fine, but we
Okay.
spend time on it
Should we do
continuously
the
anyway. We have some security issues to speak about in an executive session that will be very important for the future board, no matter who they are.
Some security issues.
Yes, executive session that we will report to you on, but we have to have it, and you'll understand. As soon as we come back out of the executive session, you will understand why these things have to be talked about only within the board, right? Because we will report to you. Unless, of course, anybody else has something that they would like to bring in. Okay, cool. So the board is going to now recess for an executive as short as possible executive session and come right back. Thank you for your patience. We're recessing. How are we doing in the office on this thing?
Yeah, isn't that humorous?
I suppose it's,
Oh,
Mr. Video Man, is it still running?
talk about chickens and.
We'll just talk about Travis's.
There you
Yeah, we'll talk about Travis's one, for sure.
Yeah, it's too bad they see things their own way.
So I get up every morning and I look across the way, and when your flag is sticking straight out, I'm thinking, oh,
I don't wanna go outside. That thing is sitting there whipping us like.
Right.
The flag's off? What is the wind
Should
do
be
to
like
your
3
flag?
weeks and then I'll get a walk.
Actually, these are really good ones, we got them from Legion's and they
Yeah,
are good ones.
the flag that we've got up right now, well, on the one out back on the
Yeah, it
redneck
hurts
trail,
pretty bad. I broke it
Pies
here,
Memorial is.
here, and up here.
It's going on 3 years and that flag looks pretty new.
I'm just glad.
You don't buy Japanese flags or Chinese or buy the American made flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 on this side, right up here, and then right on the ankle button.
And how did you do that?
On a 4-wheeler when I was at work.
Sounds about what Rick did when he fell off the scaffolding.
Oh, that was one.
Well, I don't think it broke his leg until he got, when he hit the ground. I think the board that comes back.
Fell down on it.
Fell on top of him. But Dr. Capper put screws and plates and,
Yeah, I'm supposed to have a plate and
Yep.
screws.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jill's got a plate and 3 screws in her knee. They fell going down her stairs.
That's rough, isn't it?
And he sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had to go in the ER a couple times because of the swelling, and each time it takes 2 people and they set it back and then pull it down and push it over and then get it set, and then it won't stay.
Huh. Is it because it's not in cast? I mean, I know they can't put it in cast.
Yeah, I mean, I've got ortho glass, which is this hardware in there, hard stuff, but they just said it's really, they can't get to stay.
And
But
you have to wait till the swelling goes down to have your surgery?
yeah, I'm getting it tomorrow morning
Ah.
in Ontario.
Who's doing it, Dr. Foot?
No, it's Dr. Christensen. He's out in Nampa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then you'll walk out in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna keep you overnight anymore.
No, yeah, they said, I'll be in for an hour and a half. They have me scheduled, and they have me scheduled for 1 hour in the room, and then I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they do to Rick. Yeah. The most important thing though, no matter how bad it hurts or whatever, you do your physical therapy exactly what the doctor tells you to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, for sure.
That's important. Rick doesn't, I don't think he's had any issues. I
That's
never hear him
amazing.
complaining about his
Yeah.
ankle or his leg. It's everywhere else. Yeah, my shoulder. Oh.
Well, and even with Jill done it in July, and she doesn't have full range
of motion yet.
in her knee yet. And she,
It's almost been a year.
she worked, yeah, with the physical therapist. And they even manipulated it one time.
Oh,
Oh. Ouch.
Yeah. Well, she was asleep.
Oh. Well, that's probably good.
Yeah, well, it hurt afterward, I'll bet.
When she come to.
Yeah, then she can too. Yikes.
Yeah, just one of those kind of things.
Well, you guys get to watch my crazy hops on my page on Facebook. I have never seen a plant, it's kind of scary, really.
where they go.
I know it. Rick, one night, he was sitting there and after they'd gotten clear up to the second part of the deck and he says, he says, maybe we should move our bedroom upstairs. Come in and strangle you. I've never had a plant grow so fast.
What is it?
Hop plants.
Oh, it's hops.
Yeah, I ago, and then, yesterday.
She said she was gonna make yeast, but I'll bet it's beer.
Yeah.
But they, I watered them, soaked them up, and I have a soaker hose there and watered them real good 2 days ago. And then yesterday, I was, picking up some pine cones out there in the front yard. And I happened to look up there, and here, those little buggers were even with the deck. And this morning, they're even higher. I got the twine all put up yesterday. So,
What do you think, like 6 inches a day or more?
I recorded last year, they were growing, and when it's a good hot day, they'll grow, 8, 10 inches.
Oh, wow.
It's just, it's crazy.
You know, watch them grow.
What? Yeah, if you stand there and watch it, it's like my little tractor sprinkler, you can see it real slow. But when it gets cold though, probably this week, it might not be.
Might slow down.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cool and rainy, so.
Yeah. Well, of course, because I've got everything in the greenhouse and it's all up.
I
Only thing-
remember at Whitney, they had hops growing all over the place.
Yeah.
Up there, so they're.
That's been a long
gotta be-
time ago though.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's long,
Yeah.
long ago. That's gotta be hard for you.
It is, yeah, the hop fields out of Ontario, we lived on the southeast part of town.
Yeah.
I loved to ride the horse, the dirt was nice and soft, and man, you could gallop in and out, soft dirt and it was cool.
All
Yeah,
that
it was so,
hop fields all over Wilder now.
uh-huh, there's
You
a
go-
lot of them.
Yeah, you go some of the back roads, it's amazing.
Yeah,
And they grow fast.
they grow really fast, yeah.
Well, that's why when I first.
Okay, everybody, we're back in session. There's a whole bunch of stuff, if anybody saw the announcement, there are a whole bunch of different points regarding security that we needed to talk about, but it didn't. You just have to list those things legally because they're all different categories, some of us understand this. But the things that we needed to talk about are simple, and this is just the legal way we have to do it. One of them is the code, the key code up there. We set the policy quite some time ago now. I think Jan was actually still on the board when we set the policy that anytime a board member changes out, we're gonna change the codes and the passwords. So that's basically what we're talking about. So all the online stuff, whether that be, and banking is separate. I wanna make sure that we know this. The treasurer is the only one, and administrator, or under the current board's policies, the treasurer and the administrator are the only ones that have access to the banking information and login. So this is separate from anything else. The website, social media presence, email, our logins for, and they're separate, but still, our logins for grant portals, that sort of thing, right? We have to make sure that those emails are kept secure, and this is the process that we do. So we just did that. We just changed both of those things. We also talked about upcoming grants that I'll talk about in the regular business agenda items. And I'll talk about that right now, I guess. If you guys don't mind, I'll just jump into business stuff, because that's pretty much it. It was all security. We were talking about cameras and lights and things like that, that we've been talking about since I got on the board a couple of years ago. Some of which are required. So, oh yeah, this became a hubbub again on social media, quite possibly potentially the bane of modern existence. The budget committee meeting, I put this on the agenda so that we could explain it. There have been questions about how we're gonna do it and everything, and there's only really one way to do it. Or there's a couple ways. The city council decided to put out, applications, right, for people, but that's not a requirement. We can just appoint people. And this is the first time that I've known, especially the first time that I've been back, that the city required applications for anything like that. I was on the previous 2, 3 budget committees before now, and I just showed up, and I was some of the only people that showed up, right? That's usually how it happens, unfortunately, in government proceedings. So anyway, I just wanted to explain that it's on the 22nd, it's at noon, it's right after the city councils. We set it at noon to make sure that hopefully the city council meeting won't last for more than an hour, right? It's at 11 o'clock. So if it does, then maybe we can push didn't want to interfere with people going to both, meetings, because there are a couple of us at least that go to both meetings too, anyway. But you can, as the announcement says, you can email us and let us know at unitycommunityrd@gmail.com if you want to be on the budget committee, or you can just show up and we can appoint you. There is a legal requirement, as I understand it, is 5 people, but we don't necessarily have to limit it to that, as far as I understand. I can look into that more before the 22nd. So if you'd like to be on the budget committee, and Karen just dropped off the final ones to Rob Gaslin at Gaslin Accounting, and that's what our budget is gonna be based on. So if you'd like to come and volunteer to be on the committee, then please do. 22nd here at noon.
I don't think there should be a problem with the city budget meeting. I think it's at 9, right?
It is at
Right, but we scheduled our budget meeting for after the city council meeting. Is it on the same day? Or no?
No, it's just a budget meeting, it is not a city council meeting.
That was my misunderstanding, I'm sorry. I thought there was a budget meeting and then a city council meeting
What
right
we are
after
having
that.
after the budget
Oh, is your work session?
is a work session.
Okay,
So,
so it is still cushioning for time,
so
okay.
we
okay,
shouldn't
okay.
bother your,
Cool, I just wanna make sure
Meeting at all.
everybody can go to those meetings or whatever, so,
Yeah.
that's the only reason I know, like I said, it caused kind of a hubbub. We're not doing the budget committee meeting tonight, obviously, I just wanted to talk about how it works and when we're gonna do it, right, and why we're doing it that way. Fire marshal report, the regional fire marshal came out here, I spoke to him, a couple different times before he came out here. There were questions about just the state of the building, that sort of thing, including also Airbnb.
What was his
So
name?
I reached out to him, his name is Casey Klump.
what,
Casey Kump,
Oh, Kump, yeah, not Klump, Kump, K-U-M-P.
Casey, and then last name is.
Casey with a C,
K-U-M-P.
Kump with a K, yeah.
thank you.
So he came out here, it was really good. There were some issues that we thought that maybe we had that we didn't know, we haven't been inspected, other than the fire extinguishers that we took care of, and the call 911, and the, basic things that we can take care of, right, ourselves, that don't need inspected by somebody like that. We didn't really know, exactly what the regulations were and where to look. He came and he told us, not gonna lie, in one way, he dinged us because the exit signs, while all the exit signs work, the emergency floodlights don't come on. You can still, so we're still somewhat within regulation, because, and I don't know how long this has been the condition. I haven't been the chair forever, and this is not something we spoke about since I've been on the board. We spoke about a few other things, but we haven't come across this yet. We've got a lot of transitions.
So who knows how long it's not.
Yeah, we don't know, but who cares also? I took pictures of those batteries. Oh, that's the other thing, that we have to talk about, as far as, security and safety in the executive session. We're gonna need authorization to buy new batteries, right, to replace those. So, I don't know everything about how everything was installed. The exit lights, I don't know how old they are. He said that they were pretty modern. And that the other ones, that we can see, there's one over there, over by the men's bathroom there. He said it's basically extemporaneous. We don't need those extra ones, but I advocate to the board that we should replace those anyway. I think that previous boards probably put those in there for a reason, so we should probably keep batteries in them. The other thing that he said about that, he gave us 2 months, by the way, to fix this issue. Just gracious of him, thank you. He gave us 2 months, and the reason why is because we have this emergency generator coming in. So the emergency generator, as I know it, understand it at this point, is designed to turn the power on within the 90 seconds that is required for emergency regulation, right? So, in other words, putting that emergency generator in will make the emergency lights a moot point. My question to him was, what if the emergency generator decides not to work, or run out of fuel or something, if we have an extended period of time? So that's why I'm advocating to the board that even though he's saying that we get this generator and we won't need it, I think we need it just to be safe, right? I think that we should put these batteries in there, and we should make sure all of this emergency equipment works no matter what installed in time, all of that stuff. So that's why I'm advocating us doing that. So, I don't know if you guys agree, but we need to move on that. That comes from the executive session. So, a motion, and should we buy the batteries?
I motion that we, buy all the batteries needed for all of the emergency lights.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, he gave me some, I moved my notes, but he gave me some good, sources to do that, so I'll be reaching out to them, I guess, I'm gonna try to get them here too. And I'll check, just do some research and see whether or not we can find the cheapest bang for the buck for those batteries, because they're super easy, we can install them ourselves. And that was really the only issue, as far as current operations and what we've actually done. And the reason why I put that before that is because we're going into Airbnb. There are a number of things that are associated with the Airbnb. Hopefully everybody can still hear me online. And here too. So the one thing we've spoken about it at many meetings before we focused on Airbnb, before we focused on hip camp, before we focused on anything we talked. Our number one thing is how is it going to affect our insurance, right? Jan was here, she knows that. These two weren't on the board yet, Amanda was. That was me, before I was chair. I think that we should consider how it's going to affect our insurance, because that was our biggest cost, our biggest expense at the time. If it's going to increase our insurance, then we probably shouldn't do it. One of the things that made Airbnb attractive is that they have their own insurance. Same thing with Hip Camp, which is similar to Airbnb, it's just tents outside instead of beds inside. So we looked at that, and we talked to a number of different people, and it is eventually, his leadership is my feeling. The one person I didn't talk to about it was the fire marshal. And I found out from him, one of the reasons why I asked him to come out here when he was doing the school anyway, is that it happens all the time. We spoke about it when he was here. If there's an emergency or something, then we've been speaking about all this. It's been overlooked, let's just put it that way. It's been overlooked for certain things for a long time for a lot of different places, right? If it's the thing that Travis and I did when we were in school, coming down here and sleeping overnight and doing the gambling thing or whatever, or senior skip or whatever, or fire department training, or during fire season, we're putting things in here, or it's an emergency evacuation, people tend to look the other way and try to make sure that everybody's safe, right? But technically, legally, I just found out, in order for us to have people staying regularly, we have to do what is called a change of use permit, because this place was not ever certified to be somewhere where you can have people staying overnight regularly, right? It's just, or anytime, right? And he was telling me that he was at somewhere, I'm not gonna say where, but he told me he was somewhere, helping with an emergency situation, and everybody that was there stayed in an unapproved location. And because he is who he is, he knows that this is unapproved. He knows that you need to have this and this and this and this and this. But because it was an emergency situation, people look the other way, right? And because there's no regulation, administratively, that we, or advice that we get, our advice was, yeah, you can do it. The law says you can do it, right? And there are a lot of advocates inside and outside the local area. If you can do that during the season you want to do it, we're talking about Airbnb, just to remind everybody, then there's nothing that can stop you. That's not what Casey said. He said that if you're going to do it, and really, legally, if you're gonna have somebody stay somewhere overnight, whether that be, unfortunately, we gotta talk about the school, the Forest Service, the fire hall, any of that, right? This whole hubbub has made a focus of us, so we need to do it right? So if we're gonna continue to do that, as we need to, and we know we need to, then we need to get that, permit. I've called the planning department, they said they're still doing research. I talked to them on Friday, and I talked to them this morning, or actually, no, kind of early this afternoon. And they said they're still doing research to figure out how we do that. Since we know, again, silver lining, since we know that that is traditional use for this place, since we know that it's going to be something that we need. There's going to be another forest fire. We're gonna need to house people here. We're going to need to house people.
What if there's an earthquake?
or an earthquake or a flood, like that, what was it, 2017 or whatever, you know what I mean? If people need to be relocated, we need to have them here, and these and these regulations, we would all presume, are in place for a reason, right? And we'll get to more of what we've been working on for the past several months to improve that as far as grants soon. So that's the report from the fire marshal. And again, I'm sorry that everybody that's here can't see that now. We're switching technology. So everybody can't see that. How that relates to the Airbnb. Obviously, we're not gonna do the Airbnb until we have that permit. Secondly, we're not doing the Airbnb. It has nothing to do with community pressure. It has everything to do with how we as a board have been trying to figure out how to properly and best use this space with the least amount of cost and the least amount of effort. The reason why the cafe sort of thing is set up there is because we do know, like right over there on the table, again, talking about commercial use, people have had cafes down here. People have had coffee shops down here. People have had barber shops down here. So that sort of thing we're trying to set up for that central area where all you guys are is kind of, all we have to do is move chairs, right? And everything up here is for meetings. If we can leave everything that way, then we don't have to move stuff around as much except for cleaning, right? That was the whole vision behind it. The thing that leaves out, now that we've figured out what works best, is Airbnb. How are we going to, we're focusing on September, October, and November, right? We're hoping to basically turn this place, that was the original idea, turn this place into a hostile environment, right? Not a hostile environment, but a hostile environment, and have TCP or somebody in here making food for breakfast and dinner. Everybody comes in, they got their cots, multiple hunters or groups of hunters in here, make a whole bunch of money over 2 or 2.5 months, and then kick them out. The issue with setting everything up like this is that's the cold season, right? We all know the second weekend of September is when big cold snaps. So we're gonna push all the meetings upstairs to where it's cold, and we're pumping out a whole bunch more heat, right? To heat the place to make, and we probably would recoup that money with Airbnb. But what it does is it pushes out everything local, right? And as we said, for several meetings and several meetings ago starting, is if it doesn't pencil out in one way or another, if it pushes out people in the local community, if it pushes out the local events, if it doesn't pencil out financially, then we're not gonna do it, right? And quite frankly, regardless of how big or small the group of people is that don't like Airbnb, all of the conditions that we set forth when we first started this, pretty much none of them have been met, except for making money, right? It's upset the community, it's gonna interfere with the rest of the operations here in general, right? And the only thing is that we could make more money. But why would we make more money if we're increasing our rentals because of the other things that we're doing here? And it's going to push out the rest of the community events, especially the meetings for the city council and the hall board. And I just want to point out, this is a position that I pretty much advocated from the beginning, right? I wanted to do something different, but again, as Kinsey said, this is a lesson, right? It's not what I want, it's what the board wants, right? Again, unfortunately, some of these original meetings were not live streamed, they're not on video, so it's not easy for people to see them. But these are the conversations that we've been having for a long time. And now we've gotten to the conclusion of basically the feasibility study, and the study is, it's not gonna work. The reason why we've waited this long is our next, actually 2 more down, and we'll just skip to that right now, the next topic, which is the city so-called moratorium. Our legal advisor, actually our attorney that we sent it to, Dan Van Thiel, who was representing us on this and the lease issue, just to get to the bottom line, said that exactly the same thing that the board suspected that I said as soon as the city handed it to us. This is the most lacking in understandability and unenforceable thing that we've ever seen. His advice to us is to completely ignore it. It's an unenforceable document, and the city has no grounds and no reason, and no, as a separate government agency that is not above the district, to reach into the operations of another district. And as far as I understand it, regardless of what the city is doing right now with the rest of the city, as far as Airbnb, in that regard, will still not affect the district. That's the legalities of it. The other thing, the other important thing that I brought up at the last city council meeting was that we were advised as a board, and we were advised as people, citizens, that the city had employed legal advice and the advice of who knows how many, the word several, I believe, was used, state organizations to formulate that moratorium. We have not been able to confirm that. No state agencies that we've spoken to said that they have spoken to any representatives of the city or their advisors. And the city's attorney, Kim Mosier, sorry, different issue, different people, sorry, Mosier, expressly stated, again, I can't show you an email right now tonight, I'm sorry, that she does not represent the city on the moratorium issue. So when I went to the last city council meeting, I asked the council themselves, rather than the advisor, who was it that the city advisor told this council was the legal advisor or advisors, and who were the state organizations that he spoke to formulate this moratorium, that our legal advice tells us is, quite frankly, the most nonsensical thing they've ever seen. And he told us specifically, just ignore it. It's an unenforceable instrument. So we will be, and TCP, I'm sure, we will be allowing, TCP will do what they want separately of this board, but we've already spoken about it, and the current board will be allowing more TCP events. Because the only thing that it's doing is bringing in money from people who want to drink alcohol, which is absolutely not a problem, it's legal. They're gonna be bringing in money for that and spending it, as they have, directly into the community meals program. This is not a matter of personal contention or even civic or civil bodies contention, it's a matter of legality. And we cannot allow the precedent, this kind of, quite frankly, tyrannical precedent to be set. Period. Like, we need to move forward with what's legal. The city is the city, and the district is the district, and they need to do their things separately. You probably didn't do that anyway. Repairs and reopening, I kind of covered that already during my report. Sorry about that, I got ahead of myself. But yeah, I think I already talked about it. We will get and open and advertise to everybody as soon as possible, definitely before the next event, which is next month. We didn't have anybody interested in this period of time. This is why we selected this period of time to be shut down, and totally, complete grace of God, it's the perfect time, because people like to hurt themselves apparently. The City of Unity lease matter, that is still being litigated. I just wanted to say something about it because, again, social media and other people talking about it, they didn't talk about it, they didn't address it. It's because we shouldn't properly right now. The moratorium thing, we should speak about it because that's not in the legal realm. The lease thing, attorneys are talking to each other about it, unfortunately, right now. Again, not due to mine or any member of this board's actions. Actually, I was there at that city council meeting, begging the city council, maybe that's a strong word, strongly advising the city council not to make that, because I already knew that that would be a legally binding choice. And then community hall and recreation district recall status information. Again, we are, again, as a board, not me, the board, we've been here, and the board has my back, thank you for that. They have my support because they've been here, they've been paying attention, they've been doing dutifully carrying out their positions. And we are still waiting on further information about that. We were hoping to be able to make some statements tonight, but I don't think that, and if you guys want to say something about it, I don't think that it's prudent right now. Not too much like George Bush, but.
I think that there will be definitely more things to come, more updates, more information that will be made readily available.
Are there any agenda additions? Would you like to add anything to this rather long meeting?
Heck no.
Yes, you.
I don't.
Is there any old business that we need to take care of? Sorry. Check on outside.
Can I adjourn?
Motion for adjournment.
I motion that we adjourn this meeting. Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
At 8:20.
At 8:20. Thank you. That's pretty good. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.